Okay, it's making the connection. And let's see. It says we're streaming on Facebook. Jackie, can you check in the Facebook page to make sure we're rolling? Oh, yep, here we go. Look at us. We're live on Facebook in the Keller Williams Success page. So, Chris, thanks for spending some time with me this afternoon.
Yeah, no problem.
So you get to be the first victim of many. It's been interesting in the ALC conversations between all of our offices, between Ogden and Layton and Midvale and St. George. One of the conversations we've had among our leaders is the amount of content that we're putting out is valuable and good, but we're missing the connectivity between our top agents within the office and having that piece of the conversation. And it kind of gave me the thought of like, yeah, that is one of our most powerful assets, is us connecting internally and getting the story from each other of what's working, what we're learning, how to support each other. And you actually made a comment in the ALC meeting, which made you be the target of, actually I shouldn't say target, the lucky individual who gets to meet first. Is we're going to start doing this weekly with a different ALC member in each one of our offices across the United Agent Services brand, for us to continue to learn from each other and grow. And we're posting this initially on our internal Facebook page and potentially out on our public page as well, so we can connect with agents outside of there. So for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to meet Chris, and you can correct me in my description of you any way you want, Chris, but you're kind of a gentle giant in that you're from my perspective, maybe at family parties you're loud and rambunctious, but in all of our conversations you're always calm, you're collected, but your stature is tall, right? You're always confident, you have value to bring to the table, but you're never the loudest guy in the room, but you've always got just a cool, collected mentality around you and bring value to the conversation, which I've always appreciated. Here's a question for you.
Okay.
Let's see if you can win the day with this question.
Okay.
Do you remember, let's see how close you can get to the date, the first date that you and I had our first meeting ever, face to face?
Man, year was 2018.
Okay, got that. Month?
Were we August or July?
Oh, it's a little bit later than that.
Later
so I may be wrong, but I have it as Halloween, October 31st, 2018.
I don't remember that.
We must have gone trick-or-treating together that year. But one of my habits is anytime I'm meeting with one of our agents, one of my favorite things to do is pull up my calendar all the times I've met with them, and I always look at, okay, when was our first meeting? And I know we had several phone conversations before that, but that's the first recorded meeting we had, at least in my calendar. And I'm a little offended that you don't remember. That must not have had that big of an impact on you.
You weren't wearing a good enough costume.
Right, exactly. So let's get started on a couple of things. Number one is, I don't know if you know this or not, but year over year, so the last 12 months compared to the previous 12 months, right as of today, you are up 27.5% in closed units as opposed to where you were a year ago. And you're up 50.6% in volume, which is pretty dang awesome. Like right now, based on the market, we suspect volume to be up a little bit higher than units. But even on the units, at 27.5% up is almost a 30% increase in your business. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, I didn't know that exact figure, but I knew we were up.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. What do you attribute that to? Can you put your finger on anything specific?
Yeah, I would definitely say mindset. Before coming to Keller Williams, I really was just like, I was content. I was okay with where I was at. If I could pay the bills, I was happy type thing. Realized that that's not where I wanted to be for the rest of my life type thing. And that's actually what prompted me to reach out to you and ultimately to make the switch. Was I was like, okay, no, I need a growth mindset. And really what it was I heard somebody tell me that if you aren't constantly in growth mode, then you're a fading winner. like you're just irrelevant at that point. So no, I would say it's definitely mindset of just being like, okay, what's the next step to grow?
Yeah, I love that quote. And if you remember where you heard it, share it with me. Because I think particularly right now is even 6 weeks ago or 3 months ago, I think a lot of agents in our industry kind of found themselves in a comfort space, right? Where when we're comfortable, we may think we're growing and progressing, but realistically, our production might have been going up, but we weren't really making an effort to grow mentally and personally. And that's what you had mentioned, is how important it is to grow continually. So here you are, a year and a half in business with me and with KW. You've been in business for longer than that. Has even that growth mindset shifted over the last 3 months for you, specifically with what the world's going through right now?
Yeah, it definitely has. And I feel like I'm just gonna, I tell everybody how it is type thing, as far as like what's realistic. I don't want to try and put on like some puff piece like I'm some fantastic perfect agent. but yeah, I mean, when it first hit, I kind of shut down. I was just kind of like, oh great, here we go, what's going to happen? And in my mind I was like, oh, good thing I closed a ton of deals, I can kind of just sit back and ride this thing out now. And so I did kind of pump the brakes and put, a pause on. But I do have a real estate coach, and luckily the coach was able to jump on me and just be like, no, this is the perfect time for you to really even take more control of the market and gain more market share. Let's get back into that growth mode. What do we got to do? How can we grow through this? So
yeah, and I think that's brilliant. One, kudos to your coach, because I mean, that is our battle cry right now. Is I find that anytime someone's faced with an obstacle, whether it's on a business level or a personal level, they generally do one of three things, right? They either fight, which these are the people that are gonna be like, heck no, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come through this stronger. There's flight of like, whoa, this is freaking me out. I'm out of here. And then there's freeze, right? Which I think a lot of people fell in that freeze mode of like, the flight mode isn't like, I'm not in immediate danger, so I'm not running away from a lion. But the freeze mode of just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I've never seen this. This is unprecedented. We haven't seen anything like this. I don't know what to do. I'm going to sit back and freeze. And I feel like a lot of people have been in freeze mode. And I think what you said was really important. Of the people that decided to fight through it are the ones that are going to eat up market share, because the world keeps moving. The people that froze now are months behind in catch up. Like, playing catch up is very, very difficult. And even though, like, as we've recreated ourselves through our businesses, we might have fumbled and done some things wrong, we're ahead of the person that froze, and even farther ahead than the person that ran away, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, as you talk about that, those three options you kind of have. One thing that I kind of went over was I started thinking about reflecting on a conference I had attended, 6 months ago, that talked about having an alter ego. And it talked about, I'm a big sports fan, watch basketball all the time. Well, not right now, but usually I do.
Yeah.
And, they talked a lot about this guy who actually, he was a guest speaker. He would go in and he would talk to, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, all these big name basketball players, and help them establish an alter ego. Because they said, yeah, like, your mentality and how you act on the court is going to be totally different than when you go back home with your kids and how you're acting with your kids. So I really did just kind of dive into that once, COVID-19 really hit, and was like, okay, Chris may want to freeze and see what happens here, but the owner of my group can't afford to do that. So there's got to be an alter ego here. And so I actually, one of the things that the speaker talked about was having like an actual physical thing to help you get into that new mode. So I went.
Does he call it a token, if I remember right?
Yeah, exactly. So I actually went out and bought, like, for $7 on Amazon, these Kobe Bryant Live Strong armbands type thing. So every morning I get in, I'm like, it's time to make my calls. I put on my Kobe Bryant band, and it's like, okay, Mamba mentality now. Here we go. Let's make the calls.
Beautiful. The crazy thing is, and if any of you haven't read the book or gone to it, it's actually called Alter Ego, is the name of the book that he wrote. But it's a significant read, and very interesting, the statistics he gives behind it. My introduction to that book was a friend of mine in Arizona. He always wore like one glove when he was on the phone prospecting, and then no, Michael Jackson was not his alter ego, but he felt like whenever he was on the motocross track, like a new version of him came out, that he was super aggressive, like that desire to win. And so he actually wore one of his motocross gloves when he was doing his prospecting in his office, and just to like tap into that driver, that winner on the motocross track. But it was always interesting, like, dude, is your phone like hot or what's the deal? And he's like, he shared that secret with me. So very, very cool. What else about growth right now are you focused on? Like what specifically, other than tapping into your alter ego, are you focused on from a growth perspective?
Yeah, so I mean, there's also, you know, I've tried to establish a good morning routine for my personal growth. You know, making sure I'm getting up, reading, meditating, exercising, all that good stuff. Attributing a lot of that to the Miracle Morning book. Rereading that, you know, I've read it a handful of times now, so that's a good reminder. But the other thing with growth too right now that I'm, you know, looking at is I've always been a little bit scared, I think, to really, and I don't know exactly what to attribute it to, but I've been a little scared to like relinquish control of my business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like only I do it the right way. I want to make sure that it's done right, nothing's falling through the cracks. So I've actually looked at, you know, but I have partnered with some agents here in the office that are hungry and started helping, you know, them out, mentoring them a little bit, and then also feeding them some leads and helping them convert those, getting a little off my plate. And then I'm super excited here on Monday, I actually start with my virtual assistant with Exec Assist. So
beautiful.
excited for that too.
Beautiful. It was interesting. I've been asked to be a guest speaker on a panel tomorrow with a group of top producing agents across the country. And I was thinking about exactly that around leverage. And one of the things I thought is I sat and kind of collected my thoughts before a prep call today was, like, how many times have we ever wanted to duplicate ourselves, right? Like, man, if there was just 2 of me, if there was just 3 of me, like my wife would think it was horrible if I could clone myself. But then as you think about cloning yourself, it's actually in some ways like terrifying to think, man, yeah, it'd be another of me getting work done, but it would be double the bad stuff about me as well. And if you think about it, learning to leverage correctly is duplicating the best of you and giving away the worst of you. So instead of totally duplicating and cloning yourself top to bottom, if you learn how to leverage correctly, and it's not easy, this is something I struggled with for a long time in my personal business world, was leveraging appropriately. And leverage can come through better systems and models, better tools, or people. Generally, people comes third. Is you're able to duplicate the best pieces of you, and you can give away the worst pieces of you, which, if you think about it, is a much better result than actually cloning yourself, right?
Yeah.
And the power of, I'm excited for you to go through this journey, and is going from I do it to we do it. Is there's some struggles in there, but there's a lot of growth as a leader there. When you start seeing other people, learning how to lead other people to perform the way you do, which your numbers are awesome. The next step is, how do I go from I do this to we do this? And then the next step, if you want to get to that level, would be they do this, right? How do I build a company now that they produce the same results that I was, with me being able to give my time somewhere else? So I'm constantly thinking through that pattern. Am I in I do it, or we do it, or they do it stage, right?
Okay.
Beautiful. What does the conversation look like with your clients right now? Obviously, I mean, you're still able to connect with your clients and keep your business moving forward. Have you seen some changes in those conversations right now?
Yeah, I have. And going back, you know, to at the beginning, how you talked about, you know, I'm definitely not a very aggressive person. It's just not me. I've tried doing that in the past, you know, with certain scripts and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't come across as me, and I don't feel it goes over that well. So, I mean, the conversations I've been having lately is more of, you know, like I'm in your corner with you type thing. Here's everything that's out there. I feel like my job is to provide you the information and you make the decisions. It's not my job to tell you when the right time to list your house is. Yeah. Like, I will give you all of the info. So I've really just tried to view myself as like the knowledge realtor, like just make sure I know what's going on, be producing the video content, be making the phone calls, and make sure everybody knows what's happening. And then when they're ready, you know, then you start having that conversation of, okay, what's our timeline look like?
I think that's beautifully said, and it's still what you said. I mean, people need someone in their corner right now, right?
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is this: like, it's the statement is true. The truthfulness of the statement is not true, which is, 6 months ago, every single person felt like they were a real estate genius.
Yeah.
Right. Just because they all had HGTV, but now the people are canceling their cable subscriptions. They're not such a genius because they can't watch Property Brothers. But right now, people don't need a real estate agent. They need a guide. Right. And I love the way you said that. I'm the knowledge realtor. It's the struggle with that, that I think everyone would agree with that. I think why a lot of people are leaning out of that, out of fear, is it means you have to have a lot more longer conversations, right?
Yeah.
As you're helping people go through that process, I'm imagining those conversations are a little bit longer than a normal check-in conversation, right?
Yeah. So I'm looking at even my calls from this morning. Like I've had to, since all this has started, I've gone for 3 hours of prospecting every morning now, instead of, in the past I was doing like an hour and a half or 2 hours, but now I'm up to 3. And even with that 3 hours of calling, it was 11 conversations, because they're just much, much longer. But I mean, with those 11 conversations, we set a listing appointment and a new buyer appointment. So
awesome. Beautiful. I mean, that's a perfect testament to what I believe the market is right now, is we have to be willing to give more time to do the same number of conversations relatively.
Yeah.
And the conversion ratio on the conversation is actually going to decline a little bit because there's more uncertainty in the market. Here's the silver lining though, because everything I just said is going to deter a lot of agents from doing it, right? Hey, guess what? You didn't like prospecting before. Now you've almost got to do more of it and be patient on the phone, which none of us are patient. You got to spend more time on the phone. Yeah. But here's the silver lining to it is if you do it, if you're willing to do it, you're building a better relationship with people in a time of need, which solidifies the length or the shelf life of that conversation. Other than just the quick pop in, hey, I'm still here, I'm still here, I'm still here. Now you're that guide that helped them through something, whether they pulled the trigger now or not, that your long-term return on those calls are going to be significant, I believe.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I reflect back to a team meeting that we had where, you talked about that. You talked about building your moat around your people type thing. And so that's, I think really from that, I started being like, I was very transaction oriented in the conversations I was having before that. It was like, I'd wake up every morning and my thought process was, who has my dollar today? Like, where am I making my money today?
Yeah.
Versus now with all this going on, it's like, hey, there are some people that are transacting right now that are buying and selling houses, obviously, but there are a lot of people that are still scared. And so that's okay. Let's just start building that moat around them, help them feel comfortable so that when they are ready, I'm the first person they think of to call.
Beautiful. Well said. Two last quick questions for you. Yeah. Who's your business hero?
Ooh, good question. I'm a big time Tom Ferry fan. I watch all of his stuff. Love what he teaches and preaches. So probably Tom Ferry.
Pretty impressive what he's done.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Favorite book of all time?
Favorite book? Business wise, I would have to go with Think and Grow Rich. But and I guess this is related to business as well, but it's a little more of a fun read for me. I always go back to Shoe Dog, the memoir by Phil Knight. So I enjoy that one too.
Awesome. I always find it interesting people's favorite books. I mean, I love reading or listening to books as well. And there's the ones that I have to listen to over and over and over again. And it's always fun to hear what people that I respect, what books that have been most influential to them. Well, I know you're super busy. Thanks for sharing some of your time with me today. Do you have any questions for me? It's only fair that I at least give you the opportunity to ask me a question if you want, but no pressure.
That's a good question. Let's see here. No, I would. I've got a lot of questions surrounding leverage, I guess. And so I guess I get maybe that is my question is when do we get more trainings and more opportunities to learn more about leveraging?
Beautiful. So here's what let's do with that. I'm constantly asking what our top people want to learn about. And I'd love to put together a specific training around leverage and steps to leverage and how I would do that. So anybody watching this either live or coming back to watch our few-minute conversation with Chris, if you want to participate in a conversation around the steps to leverage, like how to first leverage, and I will tell you this as a catch to get you interested if you're watching this, is 99% of agents leverage incorrectly. Our knee-jerk reaction, me too, right? Our knee-jerk reaction, our intuition is wrong. So I'd love to spend some time talking about that. And I actually was invited to give this same conversation with Keller Williams leaders across the country on Tuesday morning. Specific around this is the learning to work with people, finding the right people. So I'm going to ask anyone that wants to see it, comment below. We'll get that scheduled. And Chris, if no one else wants to hear it, man, it's another one-on-one with me and you. Yeah. So again, super proud to be in business with you. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Keep being a phenomenal leader. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Marcus.
Take care.
Yeah.